What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You got your Google and Alexa home devices, the app, video stream also up and rolling this morning on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Appreciate you making us part of your start here with us this morning. What do we got on the good old game plan? We're going to talk some green and gold Packers. We're going to hear from Matt LaFleur this afternoon, about 2:45 ish, somewhere around there. Sounds like mostly just going to kind of talk about the new coaching staff. I should say new coaches to his staff. It's not a complete new coaching staff, but talk about that. And then after that, we will hear for the very first time, new Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. We'll hear from him as he will take questions from the local media and such. So we will. That's about 3 o'clock is when he's going to talk. So it'll be after. Obviously, we're off the air and such, and maybe we'll go through some of the highlights tomorrow. But have a little fun with this. If you could pick his brain about maybe his vision or maybe his goal for this defense, what would it be? If you had a question for him, what would it be? And we know that I mean I don't know how much we're necessarily going to learn too much. Maybe a little bit more about philosophy and such, but as far as player roles and all that, I don't know if they're going to necessarily reveal that at this point and such. But I was thinking about this. Maybe a couple of them would be okay. How do you see maybe like Quay Walker within this style of defense? Is he a weak side linebacker? How do you envision him moving forward? What type of role for him? Corners wise, could Jair play more of a slot? Is he going to be a guy that is going to be following maybe the opposing team's number one wideout? That sort of stuff. So if you could pick his brain, or if you were at that presser this afternoon and you could ask a question to the new Packers defensive coordinator, what would that be? All right, put your thinking caps on here for a little bit. If you could pick his brain and maybe kind of get a vision of what he plans to do with this defense, let me know. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. What else do we got here? We're going to talk some baseball. Finally, officially official. The Brewers yesterday announcing the signings of Brandon Woodruff and Gary Sanchez. So that is in the books. Sounds like with the Sanchez signing, something popped up in his physical with a wrist issue, so they adjusted the contract a little bit. Originally, it was reported $7 million guaranteed. Now it sounds like it's adjusted to $3-4 million guaranteed, and then he has a chance to earn up to $7 million with incentives and such. But Woodruff back in with the Brewers. He talked a little bit yesterday. Definitely excited to be back, and at one point didn't think that he was going to be back, but it sounds like the Brewers came in kind of at the last seconds and made an offer, and now he's back and he gets to rehab in Milwaukee, which was a big selling point for him. He said, also said the way things shook out for me, it made me realize that I wasn't supposed to go out the way I was supposed to go out with the Brewers, getting hurt, not being able to pitch, then getting non-tendered. Now that I'm back, it kind of just hit me like, man, this is where I'm supposed to be. Whether it's 2 more years or whatever it looks like, I've still got a lot of, guess you could say, unfinished business in this Brewers uniform, and that's the way I feel about it. Still a little bit of an unknown. We don't know timetable of his return, but he went on to say we had to do things sometimes that are painful in the past couple months, and one of those was well, this was from Matt Arnold, but no, he the quote that I was gonna get to here from Brandon Woodruff until it just froze up here. Essentially, he said, he's gonna listen to his doctors, gonna listen, not really putting a timetable on anything, and gonna listen to their advice, and kind of like what we were talking a little bit about yesterday. I think the fact too that the man went through two shoulder injuries last year and missed a lot of time at the beginning part of the year, missed a lot of the middle part of the season, and then right before the postseason starts, another shoulder injury. I think the Brewers are going to be a little bit cautious when it comes to pushing Brandon Woodruff to come back. I still have it in my mind. I don't expect him to play this year. Don't expect him, even if they make a postseason run at this point. But some of the numbers with his contract, this is according to Todd Rosiak, who covers the Brewers for the Journal Sentinel. According to the AP, Brandon Woodruff will be paid $2.5 million this season and $5 million next season. There is a mutual option for $20 million in 2026 with a $10 million buyout, essentially making it 2 years, $17.5 million. Woodruff also gets a full no trade clause on there. So again, they're not putting a lot of money on him for this year. Maybe hopefully investing a little bit more into the following year. Even that second year, $5 million ain't nothing. The buyout's a little up there too, $10 million. Woodruff did say there was interest from a lot of other teams, and that he was close to signing with another team before the Brewers came in at the last second there. So we'll talk some baseball coming up here. Hoops wise, well, we don't have Marquette was in action. They got the dub dropping over 100. They did cover too. All right, they did cover. That, remember, was it 25.5? What was the spread we said yesterday? So they did cover 105-71, picking up their 20th win of the season. Speaking of college hoops, UW Stout women's basketball team with a big win last night. They advanced to the WIAC championship after defeating 8th-ranked Whitewater. They will be heading to the WIAC championship game against top-seeded Oshkosh tomorrow night. So also, shout out to all the individual state wrestlers. State wrestling begins today. Have a lot of local wrestlers participating. So best of luck to you all. We'll do some receiver defer. We'll hit that up at about 7:45. We've got an outdoor tidbits with Mr. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden Jake Boakes. So we'll catch up with him at about 8:30 this morning. If you got any questions for Jake, let us know. Hit us up with a quick text, 715-830-1912. Again, 715-830-1912. So let's get things rolling here some more. Let's talk a little baseball and let's talk a little football, shall we? Shall we do both? I might throw in some Bucks chat in here too. Bucks are going to be back in action tomorrow against the T-Wolves. We know we got some NBA games in here too. But the other day, Giannis talked a little bit with the Athletic, talking about the coaching change and kind of some of his thoughts on the rest of the season and how the season has gone so far. So we'll hit that up too and get Giannis's thoughts on Doc Rivers being his new head coach and his kind of maybe parting or final thoughts on Adrian Griffin. So, but let's get things rolling here. Join in on the convo. Hit us up with those texts, 715-830-1912. We'll take that first break, and we'll get things rolling here this morning on the leadoff. We'll throw in some baseball chat. We'll throw in some football chats. If you could pick the brain of new Packers defensive coordinator today when he chats with the media, what would you ask him? What would you ask him? Sometimes you just need a little me time, and what makes your me time better is a great cup of coffee in a relaxing, cozy environment. That's exactly what you will get when you visit Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Why settle for low quality coffee for your me time when you can have a freshly roasted brew with many different flavor options located right in your own backyard? Hey, do you need a bite to eat during that time? Cabin Coffee has you covered as well with a menu filled with breakfast, lunch, and bakery items. Having a good cup of coffee just instantly puts us in a good mood. That is, if you get your coffee from Cabin Coffee. Take a little me time and visit Cabin Coffee in Altoona, located in the River Prairie district, and experience what quality coffee really is. All right. Let's get things rolling here this morning. G-Man already chiming in. DK Pack will be the number 2 defense in the league this year. Excuse me, and the Pack will be in the next Super Bowl and they will win it all. Well, who's the number 1 defense at G-Man? The Pack is number 2. Who's number 1 there, big guy? All right. So, keep your thoughts coming. Fashionably late is the intern over there just walking in
No,
the
you're not
studio,
supposed to
so
spill that.
yeah, I gonna call you out if I have to. So
You aren't the first one today
exactly.
to call me out.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How you doing? Looking
I'm
good.
doing
Looking
well.
spry.
Doing
Yeah.
well.
Not a boy.
You got it in this kind of weather, man. Oh man.
Yeah. How about that? Getting ready for the first spring training game already Saturday.
Is it? I was just going to ask you
Yep.
what the schedule was.
Yep. First one up on Saturday. So
Now, does Euchre go out there? He just turned 90 years old.
he does some of the games. Yep.
Good. I hope so. Boy,
Mhm.
there's an icon.
Yep.
What are we going to do when we lose Bob Euchre? Hopefully, that's a long time down the road. But
Exactly. Yep. We don't want to talk about that one.
no, we don't
So,
really. We
but-
don't.
No, it's going to be good to hear his voice on the airwaves again and just talk about a little Brewers baseball too. So as
You bet.
they officially announced it yesterday, they did finally sign Gary Sanchez. They just had to alter the contract a little bit, put some more incentives in there apparently, and officially signed up Brandon Woodruff to be back with the crew. We went through the numbers, just $2.5 million this year, which is expected to be pretty low this year, and then jumps up to $5 million for next year, and then the mutual option for 2026.
Do they give any numbers for that, or is that negotiable?
Mutual option is $20 million with a buyout at 10. I'm not sure if the buyout is team-wise. I'm assuming it would probably be team-wise here, but
Well, let's hope we don't have to deal with a buyout. He comes back strong next year and, puts a solid number 1, he and Freddie Peralta. And,
yes.
hopefully I'm glad to see they did that. I think that's encouraging for the fans. It's encouraging for me as a fan. I know that they're not, well, he can't pitch, we don't want him anymore. Because he's done some nice work for the Brewers over the years, and I'm glad they're sticking by him, and I'm sure he probably appreciates that as well.
Yeah.
As well, I would.
Essentially, Todd Rosiak from the Journal Sentinel said, essentially, it's a 2-year, $17.5 million deal for Woodruff. No, you're right. I mean, I know it's not they're not in the feel good business or anything like that, but you could tell from some of the reactions from the clubhouse by like Christian Yelich and such. They were pumped about it. I know this team's gone through some poor PR stuff with some moves and such over the years, but and you get to, with the rehab again. I know there's maybe some fans who like, well, we're not even going to see him this year, but you at least get to be involved in the rehab progress. You get to monitor it, and you kind of get to be, the, I guess, mainstayer of it. Woodruff. Then it's a positive for him because he can be with the team to rehab and not have to do it on his own. And all that.
And that, you know what that's like, to be on your own to do something, being with a bunch of other guys that are doing these things to keep in shape and this, that, and the other thing, and being in the ballpark keeps your juices flowing.
Yep, and he gets to do it in Milwaukee too, which he said was a big thing. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's around the team, sitting in the dugout and being with the team, which would be a nice boost for that club too, to have him around the stadium.
Well, just some of the young pitchers, he can kind of mentor some of the younger pitchers, and I think it's a positive in more ways than one.
Yep.
For the fans, the team, him, the other members of the team, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, that I know some people may not say, well, the mentoring part. Hey, I'll go to New York again with one of the issues apparently that spiked up with Rogers when he got hurt. he wasn't around the facility, and apparently that was an issue, that he wasn't helping out Zach Wilson and all that. Not to get, into the weeds on that one, but it's people notice that, right? It's a
But that's,
difference.
that's a different person. I mean, New York, let's face it, the Jets prostituted themselves for Aaron Rodgers.
That's a good way to put it.
I mean, they
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
They basically did. They bent over and said, do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was a nice agreement that the Brewers and Woodruff have come to, unlike what the Jets and Aaron Rodgers came to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers was a different stature than Woodruff. I'll grant you that. But still in all, is one player bigger than the team?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're Patrick Mahomes, maybe, and Tom Brady, as we saw in New England when he left, what happened to the Patriots? So in some cases, maybe they are. But, not in Green Bay, as we found out this year, to the surprise of a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers went to New York, and now I think most people are saying it's a good place for him.
Yeah. Yep. So I know Pat Murphy's made some comments. I'm excited to see Pat Murphy. Kind of, he brings a different style of energy. It seems like a little more enthusiasm. I feel like we're going to get some good sound bites this year.
I'm not familiar. Yeah, that's one thing you did not get from Craig Counsell.
No.
And it might be a challenge for him in Chicago because, in Milwaukee, the media, well, that's Craig Counsell. And in Chicago,
and he's a local boy.
Yeah, and you're Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, some of those cities. Those media people there are different. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
And, if they get off to a slow start or something, and he is the low-key, no information press conference guy in Chicago like he was in Milwaukee, they'll call him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and part of me is just wondering too. He is an older guy. He's been around for a while, and I know you got all the FanGraph projections and all this, that, and the other thing, and one of them we highlighted the other day was, MLB.com did a thing about who's going to lead the league in steals. And they had their top 5, but then they had their next top 5, like dark horse candidates. And the first 2 were Brewers, Jackson Chourio and Bryce Terang at the top there. And part of me you and I have talked about this, how many times we want to see them steal more bases and all that. And part of me just kind of wonders, with Pat Murphy, a older manager, guy who's been around baseball for a long, long time, does it go back to maybe some more of those, do we call it old school style baseball roots, being aggressive on the base pass? And I hope so. I think you're hope so too, that they're being aggressive on the bases and stealing and playing a little small ball like that. Because was Craig a lot analytical? From what we heard, he was very analytical, kind of tried to incorporate some of, that regular baseball into analytics if you want to. But I just wonder, with an older manager now, are we going to get a little bit more older school style baseball?
Yeah, and for the most part, you have to say Counsell was successful with the Brewers. Let's face it, small market team. He had them in the playoffs just about every year. He would have had him in another year if the knuckleheads in the front office hadn't traded away Hader. But for all intents and purposes, I think you got to say he was successful. But you mentioned the older managers, and it goes back in my mind of who some of the most successful managers were that the Brewers had. George Bamberger, Harvey Keene, older guys. What did Houston do the last few years? Brought in Dusty Baker.
Who just won with Texas.
Who won the World's Texas? Bruce Bochy.
Yeah.
Those are older managers, I guess, guys that are settled. It's not like, oh, I can't lose this job. And, you can bring in a 35-year-old manager, a 40-year-old manager, and they've got a lot of working years, so to speak, ahead of them. These guys don't.
Mm-hmm.
And they know baseball. They're calm. They have been calm, cool, and collected. Yeah, they can get excited. I know that. Dusty Baker, time or two, got excited. But for the most part, they keep their players calm, cool, and collected. And, it's not like we get in the batter's box, they're all jumpy.
Mm-hmm.
Relax, go up there. You've seen film of this pitcher, this, that, and the other thing. They seem to have the right words at the right time. So I'm with you. I think Murphy will be a good manager for this roster, which has so many young guys that have so much, from the outside looking in, so much potential. This could be this could be a very surprisingly successful season for Milwaukee.
You want to hear a little bit of Murphy's address to the team? Quick,
Yeah.
over here. So about a minute worth, audio courtesy from the Brew. A little bit.
The start of his comments took me just right now back to the Bucks before the All-Star break, because what were the performance of the Bucks before the All-Star break? Not very good. And what were they saying? Why they weren't there? Because these guys were already in Cabo. So, and Murphy wants to talks about keeping in the present. We want to win now. And so, it just took me by that, because so many people said the Bucks are already in Cabo on vacation for the week. So it's good comments. And, and Murphy, obviously he's an Irishman, so I'm sure he can get a little excited. But I think for the most part, like you said, he's been on the bench with Craig Counsell. He knows this roster, and he's been observing this roster for I don't know how long he's been in Milwaukee, to tell you the truth.
Since Counsell's been there. So.
Oh, he has been there that long. Well, and he's seen how Counsell managed, how Counsell was successful, and hopefully he's got nobody can imitate another guy exactly, but hopefully he's learned what made the Brewers successful under Counsell. Plus, he's got a few little twists of his own, hopefully, that'll add to the success.
Well, and you mentioned, with the younger roster, remember, he was a long-time college head coach, Notre Dame.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was Counsell's coach at Notre Dame. Then he was a head coach at Arizona State, which he coached UW Claire's AD when he played baseball over there.
Oh, good.
So a little connection over there. So he's got that, and he was interim manager for the Padres for a hot minute a while ago when they had made a move in the offseason. So he's got head coaching experience, or head managing, whatever you want to talk about there. But so, does that factor in with his experience with a lot of younger guys, at the college level with a younger roster like this too, mixed in with his major league experience? But I think he does bring a lot of enthusiasm to this ball club. And I know this, we talked about it on Monday, but I don't know if you had heard about it, potentially Sal Frelick playing in the infield.
Oh, no, I hadn't heard that.
So he
second base or third base?
Second and third, mostly. He was taking some reps at third. Brewers posted a video over there, and apparently was kind of set up by Pat Murphy, because Pat Murphy used to coach Dustin Pedroia. So he set up workouts with Sal Frelick and Dustin Pedroia, and Dustin Pedroia was helping him out, playing some infield and such. And body-wise, type-wise, I mean, Frelick is a smaller dude. He's like 5'9". He's not like a Joey Weimer, who's just a towering outfielder over there. But I thought it was interesting. He did play infield in high school and such, which, I mean, a lot of great baseball players who are in the major leagues probably played shortstop.
I was going to say, a lot of guys played shortstop coming up, and they never saw shortstop in the bigs.
Exactly. So it was that article was released by The Athletic over the weekend. And then lo and behold, the Brewers after that released a video of him taking some grounders over at third base. If it works out, I'm open to anything, right?
Oh, I think you have to be.
Yeah.
With all these young players, the one thing about young players is they're flexible. They're in such good shape. They can do a lot of things. I mean, you're not going to take Yelich and try and make him a third baseman.
Right.
For a lot of reasons.
Yep.
But I mean, he's getting older. His body isn't flexible and lithe like you would like to see. But these young players are. They can still be molded, so to speak, into maybe a different position. And who knows, maybe they'll hit the hot button, and what they're ceiling is, we don't know.
And I liked Frelick's mindset and comments on it. He's like, I just want to be a ball player. I don't want to just be a great outfielder or whatever, infielder. He just wants to be a ball player, and whether that's in the infield, whether that's in the outfield, the ever optimistic outlook could he be like Mookie Betts, outfield, infield, that sort of stuff. That's really high expectations.
What, Betts is going to play second base this year?
Yeah, he did a little bit last year, but
Yeah.
more full time. I mean, Dodgers are like, because they keep adding people, so it's like you gotta. And Betts played a little infield when he was with Boston anyway, so he had a little bit of experience there. But whatever
He's
gets
an
the
awful
best.
good outfielder, though.
Yeah, whatever gets your best lineup out there, I'm
yeah,
all for it.
yeah.
And so we'll see if that is going to be something that kind of, we'll see in spring training games.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, it'll be fun to watch the spring training rosters and who plays how much and where they play. Is going to be an indication of, what Murphy already thinks about his lineup, because, he has to know who's going to be in his lineup. It's just the tinkering that you can do in spring training will be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So a couple of notes here from some texters over here. Good to see Woodruff back with the Brewers. I'm glad that he's going to be able to stick around with the team in rehab in Milwaukee. And it sounds like that was a big selling point for Woodruff too, because he said he was close to signing with another team, but then the Brewers kind of came in last second and swooped in and got it done. And yeah, I think it's beneficial for both sides to be around there.
Woodruff right now is, in his own mind, has to be in kind of a never land, to be out for a whole year and to sign with another team. I mean, you're in home territory, you're comfortable surroundings, the ballpark, the team, the fans, the city.
The manager,
even
though he's new.
Yeah.
So.
And to go someplace else, you're an oddball commodity that we signed you, but you can't play for us.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know any of the players. I mean, he knows the players in the other team, but not like he does in the locker room situation in Milwaukee. So, yeah, I think it was a win-win for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another way it was a win for the Brewers to lose Burns and Woodruff in the same spring would be, I think, a real downer for fans and maybe the team too. Having Woodruff in that locker room, knowing he's going to come back, has to be a boost for the players too, knowing what he can mean on the mound.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I know Yelich had talked about it when he was talking a little bit with the media, and he was pumped about it. I mean, that's another veteran that he's been around with for a while, so a familiar face around there. So, yeah.
That's like you losing me. What would you do?
Probably be a lot happier in life.
I know
you open that door,
I know Hudson would.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Oh man, a couple more texts coming up here. How big of an impact do you think Sanchez will have this season for the Brewers? I hope a nice one.
I think it depends on his opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets a chance to really contribute, rather than just spots here and there, if he gets to continually be in the lineup in some way, shape, or form, I think he can do some good things. I think he can bring some power that they desperately need.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. And I know why it took a little bit to get the deal done, because we had talked about this for the last couple of weeks. It was coming in. It finally was official yesterday. It was first reported it was a $7 million deal. It now was adjusted to a $4 million deal, $4 or $3 million deal with incentives that would make it up to $7 million, because apparently something with a wrist issue popped up in his physical. So they made it a little bit more incentives over there, which
more team friendly.
Yep, exactly. So if that's not going to be a bothersome, and I think you're going to see him even not catch. I feel like he's going to be maybe one of those guys, and maybe he'll develop in spring training where he catches a certain pitcher every 5 days. Once in a while you kind of see that with that pitcher and catcher combo, just to get his bat in the lineup, and then you're going to see him DH and all that fun stuff there too.
Can he, and I don't know if we talked about this, or can he play first base?
Let me see if
I don't know if he's ever played first base or not, but usually catchers can play first base to a certain degree. I don't know how agile he is or how quick he might be or might not be, but I remember watching him with the Yankees when he was really in his prime, and I thought he was kind of a forgotten element on that team, but he was a contributor. Stanton and Judge and the rest of them. But I thought he was a contributor with the Yankees.
Not a looks like a total since 2016 when he first started playing. 3 total games at first, and
Right.
2 of them was in 2017, and one was when he was with the Twins in 2022. So
No,
it was
that's
only
what
for 1 inning.
spring training's about.
Yeah.
Send him off. They played 2 or 3 different games. They'll send teams off to play other teams. So put him at first base for a few games. See what he can do.
Yeah. They got options now, though, don't
Yeah,
they?
they really do.
That's one thing that's nice. So, all right, let's take a quick break. Keep your thoughts coming. Hit us up with a text 715-830-1912. We got a couple of you chiming in with some questions. We're going to hear from the new Packers defensive coordinator for the first time this afternoon. If you could pick his brain and ask him a question, what would that be? And also, we'll hear from Matt LaFleur apparently before that, about 15 minutes before that, too. So, got a few of you already sending in your questions. We'll hit those up coming up in just a little bit. Quick break. We'll be back after these few words. It's tax season, so while you may be a little frustrated trying to track down all those W-2s and whether you're going to try to file yourself or maybe have someone do it for you, think about the light at the end of the tunnel. That's the return, some extra coin in your pocket. Now, what should you do with that extra cash that's burning a hole in your pocket? How about finally changing out that old ratty carpet in your home and getting some new luxurious carpet or vinyl planks from Wisconsin's premier flooring store, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire? Whatever style of flooring you're looking for, maybe you're not quite sure what style you want yet. The team at Carpet City Flooring Center is waiting to help you find that perfect new floor for your space. So what are you waiting for? Once you get your taxes done, go visit Carpet City Flooring Center at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue and chat with one of their awesome team members. They'll help you so that you can finally get that new floor in your home that you have been wanting for a while now, and all at the best price in town because they will match or beat the competition. Taking your questions also for Jake Boakes coming up at 8:30 for our outdoor tidbits. I will just say this. A couple of you have already asked this, and I already know the answer to this, so I'll just I know in Morgan's update they said they're voting on today about the banning of the doe hunt. Jake can't comment on pending legislation. So I know a couple of you wanted me to ask Jake about that. They can't comment on pending legislation right now. So put that. He's not trying to avoid it. There's just they can't do that. So we'll maybe get his thoughts after.
Yeah, there are some restrictions for different organizations like Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin that take the money from dairy farmers to promote that. They cannot lobby the legislature either. So there are different organizations and groups by law that can't lobby legislators, can't lobby the government.
Yep. So appreciate you guys sending those over. I know Jay can't answer those right now, so we'll maybe revisit that after however the vote comes down. So a couple of you, big one. My question for Jeff Hafley: how much influence are you going to have on this year's draft? Surveyor Sam saying the new Packers defensive coordinator. What made you say Green Bay? That's the place for me. What was the driving force for you to come here rather than other places or staying at Boston College? So, if you got any more you'd like to let us know, we'll get to that.
He might not say it, but I bet if you sat at a bar and had a beer with him and just talk conversation with him, I'm sure he'd say NIL.
Yeah.
The transfer portal.
Yep.
All those things. I think they're, well, what's his name that went from UCLA to Dallas?
Chip Kelly. He went to Ohio State.
Ohio State, I'm sorry. Yeah, he went to Ohio State.
Left the head coaching job to be offensive coordinator.
Yep. And he said that those things played a factor in his decision. It's not fun. It's not the way you coach. You can coach anymore. You never are sure of your roster. Yep. And so, I think they're going to see more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Chip tried to get an offensive coordinator job in the NFL too, jump over there. So we'll talk some more Green and Gold coming up in the next hour, but a quick reminder here too. We have individual wrestling states beginning today. So I know we got a lot of local wrestlers. So just want to say best of luck to every single wrestler. It's individuals, and then state or team state is next week over there. So best of luck. And then shout out to the UW Stout women's basketball team. They upset Whitewater last night, and they will advance to the WIAC championship game tomorrow night against number 1 seeded Oshkosh. So
good luck to the Blue Devils.
Yes, definitely. So, and then because you were asked a little bit earlier about hockey, that Chi High and Stevens Point game is going to be Saturday. It's going to be over in Hudson, it looks like, at the Hudson Sports and Civic Center. So Saturday at 4 p.m. That should be a good one.
It should be.
Should be a really good one. So it was a packed house. I know Brandon's going to be on tomorrow, and he was there. But Brandon, I think, mentioned it might have been the most attended event hockey game over there when they beat Memorial the other night. So
yep.
But yeah, that bracket, I know Justice always kind of calls it the bracket of doom or something, like, because there's just so many. I mean, you had Chi High and Memorial and Hudson and Point, and even North was on that side too. So a lot of really good teams.
Yep, good hockey, and that's great. So good luck and hopefully it's a long, bumpy ride for Stevens Point all the way over to Hudson.
Yes, right? Yeah, they got to go all the way to the other side of the states for that one.
It's a long way from Stevens Point to Hudson.
Speaking of a little local stuff here too, we've got a new episode of Rolling with the Golds, the podcast dropping in a couple of hours from now. Talk with a couple swimmers, the swimming team, both the men's and women's team, WIAC champions this past weekend. It was a good weekend for the Blue Golds overall too, because the wrestling team first WIAC championship in program history.
Those minor sports don't get the recognition and the credit of how, because it's always basketball and football are the headline type sports. But boy, it's a good program overall at UW Eau Claire, and hopefully we get the new Sonnentag Center, and that's going to raise the performance of the men's and women's basketball team, so they get back to positions of dominance and fear, so to speak, of coming in there. Hopefully they can establish a home court dominance once they get in there, and really get some good hard-nosed players in there.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago when this wrestling program struggled to find numbers and athletes, and then Coach Tim Fader comes in and completely rebuilds it and revamps it, and now they've got national champion goals coming up here. So,
well, as you said just a few minutes ago, state wrestling tournament is underway, and we've got too many guys to mention locally.
And girls are going to be there too.
Well, yeah. Yep. And so, you've got a fertile field to recruit from. There's no question about that. It's just finding the right kids that can mature as they get into college.
Yep.
Now, the girls, they've got a separate wrestling tournament. All right.
Yep. That's definitely grown. And I know North.
I had a few girlfriends that way back when that would have been good wrestlers.
I'm not going to go that way. I'm not going to go that way. We got James' question for Jeff Hafley in a word or sentence by the end of the season. What should Packers fans be able to say is the trademark of the Jeff Hafley defense? So keep yours. You got a couple more. We'll save these coming up in the next hour or so too. Somebody asked about girls basketball. Those games, more second round if you want to call them, tomorrow. Pick back up tomorrow. So.
Good.
Had some games on Tuesday, and they'll get going again tomorrow over there. So, but it's definitely the busy time for like guys like Justice and Brandon with all the postseason action going around, and
no question.
And I know Blue Goals, they've got indoor track field. They got hockey going on too for WIAC tournaments, and trying to run it well so they can get bids and qualifiers for nationals. So it's a busy time for sure for everybody, and it's going to be packed houses all across our facilities.
Yeah, especially with the weather. No problem getting to where you want to go.
Definitely. So, all right. So we got a few minutes left here. We got a couple more texts about the Brewers, though. This one is from Jeff. Jeff is saying, I really like the Brandon Woodruff signing. It's still a bummer that he won't be able to pitch so far this year. But I'm glad the Brewers did him right to bring him back and be a part of the organization. I hope we see him in the dugout and helping out these younger pitchers.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air. It's not just a business. This was a relationship situation, I think, that they got into. Woodruff likes the Brewers like Woodruff. They trust that he's going to be able to come back and help the team in the future. It wasn't just a business decision to cast him aside, or a business decision for him to sign with who knows who might it have been, and leave the Brewers behind. So they're on a couple of different pegs or hooks. I think this was a nice, refreshing decision, I guess, for lack of a better term.
And, with Freddie kind of being anointed the new ace, it might be good to have a guy like he's been around with for a while, Brandon, who, I know Corbin the last couple of years, but Brandon was kind of considered at the top there, maybe to kind of have him around a little bit, because that's a question mark. Can Freddie be that ace, right? For a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I think it's a benefit. And I know Wade Miley's a veteran guy over there too, but it's to have somebody like Woodruff, that Freddie and Woodruff have been together for a while, I think will help him out too. Whether it's to prepare mentally different or whatever it may be, but just having that presence within the dugout or in the clubhouse is going to be big time help.
What exactly is Woodruff's problem? What's he recuperating
Capsular shoulder injury. We'll revisit it again with Dr. Crow, but it is a significant Like, I mean, it's
Well, it has to be out that long.
well, and there's even quite like, can you make a full? That's
That's
still kind of a
yeah.
question mark out there too. It's definitely a very tough one to kind of come back from too. So I don't know if all options are on the table. Like, could he be a relief pitcher when I don't know. I think it's just kind of that's why I'm not putting any expectations or hope that he'll come back this year. Especially when you remember he had one earlier in the season where he missed a lot of time last year. And if you're the Brewers, I wouldn't push it.
Now, is
Yeah.
this surgery or is this just
Yeah,
recovery?
he had surgery on
He
it.
did
So,
have surgery. Okay.
yep. So, hopefully we get Woody back to what he was when he was a pretty lights out pitcher. So,
Lights out pitcher, and he's also a pretty good hitter too.
yeah, Isn't it kind of, for a starting pitcher, one of your highlights is going to be hitting a home run off of another pitcher in a postseason game? Well, when that pitcher's Clayton Kershaw, though, too.
Yeah, it was.
So, all right. We only got a couple minutes at the top. We got some receiver defer coming up at the back end of this hour. If you have any suggestions for receiver defer questions, you can let us know by just sending those on over. We're going to talk some green and gold in the next hour or two. Jeff Hafley, the new defense coordinator, we're going to talk for the first time, and then Matt LaFleur is going to be talking a little bit before him. Assumption is probably just going to talk about some of the new coaching additions and stuff to his staff. But we'll hit that up. If you have if you could ask a question to the Packers defensive coordinator, what would that question be? And let's pretend that you'll get a truthful answer. Let's say Bob, gave him a few beers or something like that
I
to
got a
loosen up.
question for him.
All right. All right. Well, we'll get to that coming up here. We'll throw some Bucks chat in here too. What did Giannis, he talked the other day to The Athletic, what did he have to say about the coaching change and Adrian Griffin, and now with Doc Rivers? We'll go over some of his comments. Bucks will be back in action tomorrow night. The NBA does tip off to tonight, the quote unquote second half of the season. So, but we'll hit those up coming up here in just a few minutes. I thought it was something breaking on Twitter, but it's not. So, anyways,
I would have been on top of that.
I was gonna say, like, I know you're pretty active on the social media stuff out
I'm
there.
all over it.
All over, yeah. You don't give me any love on social media though. You give everybody else love.
You don't need it.
Bull. Once I like a little thumbs up or something, just to know that you're watching. Just saying. All right, 1 hour in, we got 2 more to go.
I got a big screen here to watch you.
Unfortunately.
But
Yeah,
a
you
5
get
by 5 window to watch.
Yeah, you get mad when that thing's up. You come in here and you
that's fine. To get that thing down. I want to see who I'm talking to.
1 hour in, we got a couple more to go. Stick around. We'll be back after these news updates. Second hour kicking off on this Thursday morning. If you're up and at it already, big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from.
I just walked out during the break here. What an absolutely perfect morning it is right now. I mean, it is a beautiful sun is just coming up. We got mostly blue sky. Just what a great morning. Get up, get at 'em. Shank of the day, baby.
I wish we can pound out a
I know
window
it.
right
I know
here.
it.
You know what I mean?
We used to have a window in this studio, and I don't know what happened to it. Or no, you had didn't you used to have a window in there? I don't. There used to be a window
Maybe.
along here someplace. I don't know where it was, but
I'd like to put a window here and then a little passageway here because my office is right on the other side there. And just kind of, like a bat cave.
I
secret
remember
door.
I remember the old days when they put an addition on our building a few years ago. And before they did that, the studios, if anybody's ever been in here, the studios, not where we are, but the FM studios that we have, our sister stations, had windows that were to the outside. And I'll never forget our friend John Murphy and then George House.
Mm-hmm.
They were the morning show on Wax. And one morning, they were on and they were talking about, the weather forecast, we're going to get rain today. In fact, it's raining hard right now. And so if you're going out, umbrella or whatever, just prepare for a lot of rain. People are calling, what are you talking about? The sunshine, it's not raining. Well, the janitor went out and turned the sprinkler on. And the sprinkler was pouring water against the window. So Murphy and House never looked past the sprinkler. It's raining hard.
Oh my goodness.
That was famous for a long time. How much you can rely on the weather forecast on Wax.
From two boneheads over there.
Oh boy, we made a lot of miles out of that.
I can imagine.
Because people were calling the front desk, say, what are those guys doing? It's not raining. It's a beautiful day. So somebody finally went in there and said, what do you call it? Well, look out the window. Well, that's a sprinkler.
God. Wow. Hey, speaking of flashbacks and throwbacks, 44 years ago today.
Hockey.
Do you believe in miracles?
Yep.
Obviously I wasn't around, but kind of throw it. Is there a sporting event for some of you out there that you can still remember, maybe like it was yesterday, or what you were doing, or that entire day? Because I got to imagine you remember it fondly,
vividly watching. And you know what? I kicked myself all around the block because I've, at that time I was a subscriber to Sports Illustrated from about 1959 or 1960 until just a few years ago when it changed so much and just they lost all the great writers they had. And that Sports Illustrated came out, and why I didn't save it or what happened to it, if my mother, my wife, or somebody took it and threw it and I didn't pay attention to it. What an iconic cover that was. The only thing on the cover was Sports Illustrated over the top and the U.S. hockey team. There was no writing on there like U.S. beats Russia. It was, everybody knew what that picture was. And I don't know if there's ever been another cover on Sports Illustrated that did not have some kind of verbiage with the picture or with the cover. But that one did not need any explanation. It was just there.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't, really and truly, it was even up to now one of the most shocking results in a game that we've ever seen, because they were such an underdog. It was men against boys is what it was.
Yeah.
And for these guys to beat the Russians in hockey 4-3. And I mean, I was watching this and I'm thinking, run that clock. And Al Michaels says, do you believe in miracles? I mean, it did bring tears to my eyes. I'm not afraid to admit it, because it was so unbelievable. Much more so than any Super Bowl win or NBA championship or anything else. It was just unreal.
Yeah.
I think most people that were around at that time will say the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. That's, I wasn't around, but it's one of those, I think even still, about it, whether it was, you read about it, watched the movie, whatever, but you know exactly what that line is from Al, what you're referring to when somebody says it, and
Miracle
such.
on Ice.
Yep. I got a picture of here. Yeah, right now that Sports Illustrated cover. You're right. Just says Sports Illustrated, and they're all celebrating, and there's
Yep, just a
nothing
picture
else.
on the ice. No, it didn't need anything to explain it. Everybody knew what that picture was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And they made the movies, and the movie was fun to watch, but there's no way it compared to what actually happened when you were watching it in real time.
Can you imagine if something like that happened and like now with social media and all that? I mean, it'd be.
Ruined as far as
You
I'm
think it would be
concerned.
ruined?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Just
I think the way it could be handled by the media we had then, it was so iconic, and it would just, you didn't have anybody else messing with it. I'll use that term.
Mhm.
I don't think it would be near as impactful as it was with the limited media we had. And at that time, we didn't think it was limited media. Everybody covered it. Everybody knew what happened. Cover Sports Illustrated. It was just. It was just. I can say for that a once in a lifetime event because I'm running through my mind other sports programs that I've watched. If the Badgers had won the NCAA tournament, for me, that probably would have been, close second. But really and truly, that's just so head and shoulders above everything else I've ever had a chance to watch in sports.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm honestly trying to think of this major underdog or this sporting event that, sticks into my mind. I mean, there's games obviously, but nothing to that level that I can think of right now off the top of my head.
No,
I just there's nothing right now that's coming to me. Surveyor said, I remember when Rulon Gardner defeated the unbeatable Russian and Greco-Roman to claim the gold medal. Third grade, camping with my grandparents in the Dells, watching it at a local bar while eating a hamburger and drinking root beer with my grandpa. That's a cool memory.
that's a cool memory. And I've had a chance to meet Rulon Gardner a couple
did
times.
you?
I've talked to him. I'm a picture taken with Marty Green and I. He was down in Kansas City with our farm broadcasters because he's a farmer, dairy farmer. He was out in Wyoming, where he came from. Wonderful guy and had a great story to tell. And yeah, that would be too. But I've never been a wrestler. I've never a hockey player either. But I mean, I was never a wrestler. But that too would be one of those iconic moments of nobody beats the bear, and he did. So I agree with Surveyor Sam. That was another big moment, but not like the hockey team. But it was a big moment. I won't take anything away from Rulon Gardner.
And I think you do got to factor in the world at that point in time too, right?
Yeah.
The world, what circumstances were going on and all that. So,
but for us to beat the Russians in hockey and Rulon Gardner beating the Russian bear in wrestling, I mean, nobody thought anybody could beat him.
Yeah. Maybe the closest thing that I could come up with is Rocky beating Drago.
Yeah. Well, that says something about the generation you come from.
Yeah, I know.
You haven't had a chance to see anything like that. I'm just thinking.
I'm trying to think of something.
I'm trying to run my mind through from 1980 to the present, and thanks to Survey for bringing up Rulon Gardner, because that too was an iconic moment. But if anybody else has got any others, I'd love to hear them to be reminded of it. But those are two. But I still think hockey would be 10, Rulon would be 8, but right up there, maybe even 9, right up there. But it's
because even like some Super Bowls, like I don't put in the Giants beating the Patriots when the Patriots are undefeated. I mean, it was a good upset, but it's not to that level for me. So yeah, I gotta. If somebody's got one, let us know.
Yeah, really and truly, because I'm running things through my mind, but nothing's sticking.
Yeah, I mean, I googled a list here, but I mean, it's again, we're looking like for like the magnitude of what it was, and there's just Villanova over Georgetown in '85. I wasn't around for that one, but I mean,
I was there. But again, Villanova, Georgetown, they play it twice a year. It was a big upset, but
Yeah, number one on this list. This is from Men's Journal, the Olympic hockey team, and then number 2 is actually Giants over the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Nah.
So,
Rulon Gardner, I think, for iconic sporting events, that the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl. I mean, it was a great game, and the Patriots were undefeated. But what Rulon Gardner did to me was more impressive than the Giants beating the Patriots.
This one is from ESPN. Back in the day, Miracles #1. They got Super Bowl 3 on here.
Well, that was a big one when the
Yeah.
Colts got beat.
Mm-hmm. Villanova over Georgetown's 3. Buster Douglas KOs Mike Tyson at #4. 1990. I was wondering if there was a boxing one. Like, what would that boxing one be? They do have Rulon Gardner on here at #9, so that one is listed up there. But yeah, nothing like really immediate.
No, I think Rulon Gardner should be higher on that because we have Super Bowls every year. You have boxing matches, and boxing was different in the day. Now the cage matches get more attention than boxing itself, and you don't have the Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, Floyd Patterson, Ingemar Johansson. I go back with a lot of these guys that were back in the day. But what Rulon Gardner did to me is much more impressive and much more an moment than a Super Bowl.
I'll just ask this because I know is there any horse race like a Kentucky one that kind of pops up in your mind? I mean,
Secretariat's Belmont. You don't win the Belmont Stakes by 33 lengths. That was unbelievable. That would be the race of the it was the race of the century and maybe the race of the millennia. Who knows, but that would be the one.
Yeah, from like we're looking 1980 onward.
Yeah, this was in 73.
Yeah, because there's a few other ones out there, but yeah, 1980 onward. I'm trying to, I don't know. I can't think of one. So
no, I mean those two, Rulon Gardner and the Miracle on Ice.
What would be one that could happen? That would be tough to try to figure out. Like,
I was trying to think of that too. What would be something that would really get our attention that doesn't happen all the time? Like I said, the Super Bowl is played every year. And I know so is the Triple Crown, so are all those races. But all of a sudden, man, here comes Secretariat, 33 lengths. You can't even believe it. Like the announcer said, he's like a giant machine. And they were saying he's going to blow him out, burn him out. And he just kept going. Well, we found out when Secretariat died, he had a heart about twice as big as any other horse. So he had a really factory to pump the energy and pump the air with that heart. But I don't know. I don't know. Because I don't know how a horse could outdo what Secretariat did.
Trying to think of like, because we got the Olympics coming up in summer. Is there like another country that's just so dominant, like off the top of my head, where like the U.S. would, upset them or something like that? I'm blanking right now. Not to say there isn't. I'm blanking right now. So
yeah, and of course the Usain Bolt. If somebody had beaten Usain Bolt in the Olympics when he was absolutely far and away the dominant sprinter in the world, maybe he could still win. I don't know, but if somebody would beat him, but then again, they'll run the race again next year, or I don't know. But that hockey is so far ahead of everything else. The Miracle on Ice.
That would be one where I would love to hop into a time machine and go watch it in person and be in that environment.
Boy, wouldn't that have been something?
Holy moly!
You think about that Olympics, and you think what else happened at that Olympics? The kid from Wisconsin, Eric Heiden.
Yep.
5 gold medals.
That I think gets overlooked a lot. Holy moly.
Overlooked so much. Eric Heiden from Madison winning 5 gold medals. Nobody's ever done that. No, I can't say nobody ever will, but I bet against it. I mean, to be that dominant, that's unbelievable. I think that should be part of the list as well. I mean, I was really excited about that. Same Olympics, Lake Placid, but again, it's speed skating,
right?
And it's pretty, how do I say it?
Not one of the bigger events.
Yeah, it's not one of the bigger events. It's kind of a focused event. You get out of the Pettit Arena down in Milwaukee at State Fair Park. It's not something that I don't even know if we have speed skaters around here. We used to have, but I don't think there are anymore. I don't think the event is hyped in Wisconsin like it used to be.
Yeah.
But that too was an event, was an accomplishment that is unbelievable.
That's where it's funny you bring that one up, because last night's Well, I'm sure you saw it because you followed, but I put it on my Facebook page, like the most underrated athlete player. Could be for your favorite team. That I would put Eric on there.
Oh, an athlete is a good way to put it
Hmm.
because he was an athlete.
Yep, I'd put him definitely on that list.
Mhm.
So, all right, let's take a quick break, and but if you have any of from 1980 on or anything like that, let us know. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Maybe we're missing something here. Let's talk some football. We're going to hear from Jeff Hafley this afternoon, Packers defense coordinator for the first time. If you could ask him a question and know that you get a truthful answer back, what would it be? We'll revisit what some of you had to say coming up in just a few minutes. With spring training here, players are getting ready for another long baseball season this summer. But spring training doesn't just have to be for baseball players. It can be for you as well. Tired of those aches and pains and you've been holding off on going to see someone for help? Not anymore. Spring on into Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and start your spring training so you're ready for an awesome summer. At Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, you will receive surpassed care delivered with compassion and respect. So get ready to get back into the game. Make your appointment by visiting cvosm.com to get started.
I should tell you what I'm planning to do in June.
What are you planning to do in June now?
I've got I know farm broadcasters all over the country, obviously. And I know one guy, he owns a ranch outside of Billings, Montana. And he's been after me for years to come out for the roundup first week in June, go out there, out on the range, horseback, bring the calves in, rope them and brand them and cut them. And, then, like kind of like being on Yellowstone.
I know. That's where I'm thinking right away.
So I'm trying to put that together. I got to put it together sooner. I have to be helped onto a horse, but still I can get on a horse by myself. But if I can do that, maybe I'll call in from the range in June if I can pull that off.
Push the needle or the knife a little bit in because I would love to do that,
Oh,
man.
I know it.
Holy moly. A few of you sending in some ones, but we're looking from 1980 onward. So we got a couple people saying, was it Houston and UCLA basketball 1968 for men's basketball there, but looking a little bit more.
At that point in time, again, it was so limited. You don't have, like last night, there must have been half a dozen basketball games on or whatever it was.
Yep.
And I remember that game. I watched that game. Elvin Hayes and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and in the Astrodome, and they beat UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got to the NCAA tournament. It was a different story. Of course, they treated them like a red-haired middle child. Is what it amounted to. But no, that was a big event. No question about it. No question about it.
About 3:00 today, we are going to hear from new Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley for the first time. About 15 minutes beforehand, Matt LaFleur is going to talk before him. Assumption is he's probably going to answer some questions about some of the new coaches coming on his staff and such. But to have a little fun with this, we threw out the question: if we could give you a media credential, and head on over to the media atrium under the bowels of Lambeau Field and be a part of that and ask a question to Jeff Hafley, what would that question be? Let's go over what some of you have said. James said, in a word or a sentence by the end of the season, what should Packers fans be able to say is the trademark of the Jeff Hafley defense? We've got Big Worm saying, how much influence are you going to have on this year's draft? Tyler saying, I would ask, if the first round pick this year is defense, what position would you take? Surveyor saying, what made you say Green Bay? That's the place for me. What was the driving force for you to come here? Also, the real important question is, cheese curds, yellow or white, fresh or fried? So
all good questions.
Yep, exactly. So you said you had a question.
My question, Coach, specifically, what are your plans for this defense to make Rashad Gary and Lucas Van Ness more productive on the defensive line? Specific. I want to know just not the whole scale of defense, but what are you going to do to make Gary, and because I think that's going to be a key to the success of this team, Gary and Vanessa on the outside, what are you going to do to make them more productive?
I like that one. Couple I would add on there is Quay Walker. What kind of role do you see him as? Is he a weak side linebacker? What, with a 4-3, 4-2 style, 4-2-5, whatever we're going to term it. How do you envision his role on this defense? And then I would also say, are you going to have Jair shadow every single top receiver when you go up? Or, he talks about press coverage, press corner coverage, and all that, and how important that is, that he believes it is. And, how does this style of defense maybe get more out of a guy like Jair Alexander? Do you utilize him more? Do you utilize him more in the in the slot where you got quicker receivers and such.
Yeah, and I hope this press corps doesn't throw him a bunch of softballs.
Right.
About where do you think we need to strengthen the defense? I mean, come on.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody that watched the Packers knows where they need to strengthen the defense. How specifically are you going to do it? You got players there. What are you going to do in the draft? Is it going to be a defensive draft or an offensive draft? How much participation are you going to have? If they're going to take a defender, are they going to take a linebacker? Because Quay Walker has not lived up, in my mind, to a first-round draft choice. Now, maybe he will. Maybe he'll come on. I don't know. And a new defense, I don't know, because as Alexander said, we just play what they're called under the previous regime. But I hope they ask some specific questions, because there's a lot of them that need to be asked of this defense, because, they showed at times they're pretty good. Yeah, they showed they could perform, but, they can't throw them softballs.
I think it, and I know I threw this out to ask for Jeff Hafley. I would ask this to Matt LaFleur. What was it about Jeff Hafley that made you want to hire him as your defensive coordinator when you could have gotten, maybe, I'm assuming, a guy like Wink Martindale, a longtime NFL defense coordinator? What made you, because this was a surprise hire that nobody expected, but what was it about Jeff Hafley that sold you on hiring him because let's face it, this is a huge hire for Matt LaFleur. I mean, fair to say one of, if not already, the biggest decision he's had to make, because of, we're tired of this defense underperforming. So what was it that sold him on hiring Jeff Hafley? I would like to know that real answer from Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, what in his resume was the defensive light that came on in your mind? So this is my defensive coordinator. What did his resume,
or what he tell you in an interview?
Yeah, exactly.
His vision. Yeah. That's like got you all goo goo gaga and like, yeah, I want that. So I would love to know that, because
I don't want him to hear him say, well, he's been successful and he this and that. That's not the answer you need.
Right. Because he, that was one of the things I was kind of curious about, how he was going to approach this hire. Would he go with an established guy like a Wink Martindale, or, somebody who's coordinated NFL defenses and maybe have a little comfort zone there because what to expect from that? Or would he kind of go and, maybe make another bold predict? And this is a bold pick. It's a bold pick to bring in a guy. And he's coached at the NFL position wise, but to bring in a guy from the college level to run your defense for a team now that's going to have uber expectations. I mean, it's not just from Packers fans across the nation. They've got the Packers as a top 10 team to win the Super Bowl already. So, I mean, there's that spotlight's going to be on them day one.
Yeah, besides Martin, Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
Played defense for Super Bowl winning teams in the Patriots. He knows defense. You got to let go. Why wasn't, was he considered? And I'm not criticizing this hire at all, but I think too, your question is very important versus some of these other guys. What in his resume showed you that he knew defense and could put a decent or a good defense, a better than average defense on the field, versus some of these other guys who have proven that they've done it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of questions, but you're right. I want tough questions asked today, knowing that I know you're probably not going to get very detailed answers, but at least you're throwing them out there, right? You're throwing those questions out there, and I think they're legit questions that has to be asked at this point in time.
Well, and I think those guys have to know that the status quo won't make it now. This defense has to step up. So what did you see in this guy, and what are your specific plans? Is it going to be through the draft? More guys? Does Quay Walker have a position on this team? Because Quay Walker reminds me of oh boy, kid from Ohio State.
AJ.
He's a little late to the ball all the time, like AJ Hawk was. And, I thought this kid was going to be faster than AJ Hawk and get around, but he hasn't proven to be that way. So like your question, what's his position? What's he going to do? Because he hasn't been a standout at all.
And, to go on that defensive line there too, Kenny Clark, how does this defense benefit a guy like that? So I feel like it could. If you are going to go to a 4-3, Kenny Clark's played 3-4 his whole pro life. This is going to be a little bit of an adjustment for him too.
which
So
I think he's probably going to like.
I agree. I completely. He's one of the guys that I'm really excited to see in this style of defense.
Yeah, I think he's been held down so much by this defense that they played for so many years. Because I don't care how good you are, you get double and triple teamed on every play. It's hard to show up in the stats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just tough.
I think the other thing I would ask LaFleur is, we heard him at the end of the season, towards the end of the season, saying he was going to be more involved on the defensive side. Is he going to continue that, or is he going to let his new defensive coordinator kind of be the head coach of the defense, and he's not going to have any involvement? And then maybe the follow-up would be to others. Do you think Matt LaFleur should continue to have involvement with the defense? Because there has been some people who brought up the point, when the defense kind of started to improve towards the end, was that because LaFleur was in those meetings, or was it just happy circumstance at that point? I don't know. We don't know that either. So, but I'd be curious to know, is he still going to continue to be involved in something like that?
Well, I hope he does, because all you have to do is go back to that Seattle game a few years ago, and Matthews wasn't on the field. I didn't know that. I mean, you got a head coach, you got a lot of responsibilities, but you got to know what's going on.
And I do agree with him too. Like, he wants that quote head coach for the defensive side. Steve Spagnuolo is kind of like that with the Chiefs, right?
No question.
Andy Reid's got so much trust in him, and
because he's performed.
Exactly. Yeah. We got to see Jeff actually do that first.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to see that happen. And, when Andy Reid can go sit on the bench and talk to Patrick Mahomes while his defense is out there, it's because, Spags has it. He doesn't have to worry about that at that point in time. That's the level I want this defense to get at, this team to get at, where you just got, all right, your turn now, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and Spagnuolo, the defense, I mean, you had playing defense for him, you got to be excited, because,
you're going to be
here
aggressive.
We go. Eight of us are going after the quarterback. I mean, you just got to smell blood in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the Kansas City defense does. Do they have the best personnel? Good, but I wouldn't say they're the best personnel-wise. But coaching, that steps them up.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right. Ready to do a little receiver defer?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here, but are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Yeah, right.
I was born ready, man.
We'll take a break, and we'll do some receive or defer coming up after these quick words. We know Mike's Star Market is your go-to place for quality and flavor when it comes to brats, steaks, burgers, and chicken. And Mike's is also your go-to place when it comes to snack sticks, jerky, and now freeze-dried candy. So many different flavors of freeze-dried candy that you will want to try them all. But you will want to try the Jolly Rancher types because those have the Backyard Dream stickers on them. And for every bag of the Jolly Rancher freeze-dried candy that's purchased, $1 goes to Backyard Dreams. So whenever you head into Mike's Star Market, you're probably likely to find something new to try. And with the weather going on right now, wouldn't you want the grills going and all that? Firing them up if you haven't already. So
Mine's going to get busy this weekend.
atta boy.
They're going to be a lot of stuff going to get grilled this weekend.
Good to hear. Coming up at 8:30, last call here for some questions for our DNR warden buddy, Mr. Jake Bolks. We'll catch up with him at 8:30 for our outdoor tidbits. Time for a little receive or defer. I'll give you the honor, intern, to go first.
All right. Well, I know you and Luke were talking yesterday, but receiver defer. Greg Gard is in trouble.
Receive. I'll receive it.
By trouble, he's put on warning, or just, well, I mean, I know the public is not happy.
We're talking with RJ on Tuesday.
And I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I was talking to, and I said, I'm like, if the season finishes out how it's kind of trending right now, like an early exit, would he open up next year as on the hot seat? And RJ's like, I think he's on the hot seat now. And that's kind of the talk down in Madison, at least. I think he's on the hot seat. Whereas if it does finish how it's going right now, he opens up next year burning a little bit.
Yeah, I've never seen a team at Wisconsin. I've seen teams that just weren't good, but this team is underperforming. I've never seen a team underperform so much in the last month or two as this team has. It's just unbelievable how they're underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can go down the line and list them and how they're underperforming.
I saw this article pop up now, and I haven't had a chance to read it, but I have it open so I can check it out later. But it's from The Athletic, talking about the title is "Meet the Former Player Helping Wisconsin Basketball Have Its Best Offensive Season in 30 Years." Talk about Kirk Penny, who's on the staff now, and RJ talked about that too on Tuesday. Always kind of bringing in a different offensive system, a lot of systems that they're doing in Europe, even. Great, yeah, they are scoring more points and they're a higher offensive efficiency team, but there's a lot of other stuff that's going on.
They're still horrible shooters.
Yeah. That three-point percentage the other night was still, 27, 28, whatever it was.
You can't have that. Just a bunch of underperformers is what it is. And, Greg Gard is on the hot seat because, here comes Stores in this year. There's no guarantee he'll come back next year. He'll say, well, this is ridiculous. I'm going someplace where I know I can win. And, that's the problem too. You gotta keep the guys you got that can make a difference, but you got to find other players to step in and take over for these guys that are underperforming so much.
That I don't know if that's what you heard me say yesterday, but that's with like the transfer portal now, where that's in my mind. When we have these good players, I'm like, automatically thinking, I'm like, oh crap, are they going to leave if they're
hear you say that.
Underperforming? And I was thinking of AJ.
We all think,
I don't want that to happen.
No,
I don't.
But it's just surprising to me that this team is underperformed. So you can't lose to Michigan. You can't lose to Maryland. You can't. I mean, it's just the losses they've had. Purdue is one thing, but the rest of these losses they've had, 5 out of 6 or something like that. This is inexcusable, especially when you lose to Maryland at home. Come on.
They beat Maryland.
Oh, did they beat?
Yeah, they lost to Iowa in overtime.
Iowa in overtime. That just unbelievable. But I think Gard is in trouble.
And I do want, I don't know, but you got a Badger assistant who's doing a pretty good job in South Carolina right now, Lamont Paris over there. So I don't know. It stinks. It stinks.
It really does. It's a disappointing system. Receiver defer. If you were Caitlin Clark's advisor, you'd advise her to come back to Iowa for another year.
That was actually one of mine.
Oh, was it really?
I had it worded differently. I was gonna be like, "You're Caitlin Clark. Are you coming back or not for your 5th year?" Because she can with the COVID year on there. If she did, a lot of, I think the Indiana Fever owned the first pick A lot of Indiana Fever people would be a little disappointed.
They might still own the first pick
They
next
still
year.
might own the first pick there too. Boy,
With this NIL,
she's on State Farm commercials now.
I know it.
You know,
And she's going to do more.
Yep.
I mean, when she puts this scoring record so far out of touch, even this year, and she comes back for another year, I mean, my goodness me, she's just unbelievable. And it's
kind of like LeBron with the scoring record, right?
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I don't think anybody's going to get that now.
Not even close.
But
I'd advise her to come back for
I think,
another year because of NIL. Let's say she's in Iowa City. She's not in New York or LA, you know, the high dollar towns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's probably driving around Iowa City in a new Mercedes Benz, and I'm sure she's got a pretty nice apartment that I don't know. She doesn't need roommates anymore. She can be all by herself. She's got a lot of friends. You know, at that age, I would. I don't know what she's going to do. I don't know what her mindset is, but I would advise her to come back because it's not like the NBA is going to give her the WNBA is going to give her $100 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And you know what happens to these gals when they come out of college and they play in the WNBA? Where do they end up? They end up playing in China. Brittany Griner went to Russia, and you know the trouble she had. And you're going to foreign countries. Stay in Iowa City for another year and enjoy the fruits of the harvest, so to speak, that she rightly should go.
I don't know if they would open this door, but I think they should. If I was the commissioner of the WNBA, I'd be trying to go to some sponsors and some supporters and going to, hey, we will make you the face. We're going to throw some money at, because, you know, I think once she gets to the WNBA, I mean, there's that initial wave of excitement of like, we got to watch this. You try to pump that up. You try to throw cash at her. Let her be the face of your league.
Oh, I think so too. That's only a good business practice. Oh, here, let's talk about this. Receiver defer. If Caitlin Clark comes back, would she transfer to Connecticut, Stanford, LSU, South Carolina, some of these other known? Because right now you look at the team she's playing with, and a couple of pretty decent players, but you know, she's the lone wolf on that team. Really, she makes that team go. She's got a couple other good players, but I'd be shocked if they got as far as they did last year
in the national championship,
because they took second place, obviously. But I'd be shocked if they got that far this year.
I think she stays in Iowa.
Yeah, I think
she's
so too. She's from Des Moines. So.
Yeah, the brand. I mean, that's when you think of. I mean, she is Iowa
but
basketball
they say
now.
To be considered the GOAT of college women's basketball, does she need a championship? Well, if you do, you go to South Carolina, you go to Connecticut, because the gal from Connecticut, that young lady,
Paige,
Paige Becker, she's coming back.
Yep.
What a dynamic duo that would be.
That would be a lot of fun, right?
Oh my goodness.
You know, or maybe Caitlin goes to the WNBA, but then Indiana still suffers, and then Paige gets. I don't know. That'd be fun though. You don't want to hear about like those.
But I'd rather see them in college than the WNBA together in college.
Yeah, I don't think she's not going to go.
No, I don't
anywhere else.
So. No, I don't think so. But
and then I mean, if she does lead Iowa to a national championship, then that just improve.
Yeah.
I mean,
if they would win a national championship, which I think they're longer odds this year than last year, then it's different. Then she probably will come out. And I haven't heard a word about what her thoughts are. But if I was her advisor, I'd say stay where you're at.
Well, and remember, I think she still is. I mean, I'm not up on the Perez Hilton stuff or whatever. I think her boyfriend is McCaffrey's son.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so I think again,
and we don't know how much NIL money she's making right there in Iowa City and in Iowa. State Farm is a national thing.
Hy-Vee's also.
Yeah, Hy-Vee is. That's Des Moines based.
Yep.
So
I did see though. I mean, you want to talk about how she's kind of changing things last weekend, running through Shields. Caitlin Clark tees all over the place. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. No doubt.
They took down the Graham Mertz t-shirts and put up Caitlin Clark.
They still had Graham Mertz ones there.
Oh boy!
But no, I thought that was really cool, and there was people purchasing them too. So
hey, really receiver defer. The WIAA needs to go back to 8 Division I teams and Thursday morning for their basketball
I
tournament.
think you do this.
Do
You
it
do
every
it
year because I
Yeah.
want to keep it out in front of people.
Yeah. I'd be good with that.
I mean, you look at, who is one of the stars in the NBA All-Star team game?
Tyrese Halliburton.
Where's he from?
Oshkosh.
Did you see him in the state
No.
basketball tournament?
Yeah, I know what you're going
Who
at.
plays for Miami?
Tyler Hero.
Did you see, where's he from?
He's from Wisconsin.
From Milwaukee area.
Yep.
Did you see him in the state tournament?
Can't recollect it. No.
No. I mean, we're missing out on being able to see too many of these guys. I just think you've got to expand it and give these guys a chance to play in front of the people of Wisconsin.
Mhm.
But I know I brought that up before, and I'll keep bringing it up because it's a pet peeve of mine. Thursday morning, they used to have Thursday morning sessions, and I'm not talking about. I'm not into the economics. I'm not into any of that stuff. For the good of the tournament is all I'm talking about. Bring back what people want.
I remember
because the audience at the tournament isn't what it used to be.
I remember getting up early and watching those Thursday games, like going down there and watching them one year and such. But yeah, I mean, and then school, I mean, some of our teachers had it on the TV already watching it. I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. I just think they're going the wrong way. But anyway, that's my receiver to first. I've taken up the whole time.
Fine by me. You stole one of mine. So I know we were talking about college hoops, and I know they just they lost on Valentine's Day, but I did. We focus a lot on Wisconsin and Marquette. There are some projections, though. Green Bay men's team could get to the tournament.
Oh, good. I hope so.
I did see one as a 15 seed. I know they lost on Valentine's Day, but to Northern Kentucky here, and they got looks like 4 games left. But it wasn't that long ago. They just only won 2 games with Bo Ryan's kid as head coach, and they've changed that around. So there's some projections Green Bay could sneak in.
Is he still a coach?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope. Was it last year or this year they changed head coaches? I can picture him, but yeah, keep an eye on for
Bo Ryan's going to get into the Hall of Fame this year. He's nominated. He's one of 14 finalists. He sure should be.
He should be.
Yeah.
I know he's been nominated before in the past and hasn't gotten in there. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame is so weird too, because like Jerry West is on there, and people are like, what? But it's an executive, because you can get in different ways over there too. Vince Carter's on there. I mean, Bo should get in for his D3 national championships alone, in my opinion.
Look, the success. I mean, he had Wisconsin has been in the. I don't know exactly how it was worded. During his time, Wisconsin finished in the top 3. Has been the last 20 years. Wisconsin's the most successful basketball program in the Big Ten. 20, 25 years, whatever it is. I know Michigan State's won a national championship, but overall, Wisconsin has been the most successful team in the Big Ten. That's why it's so hard to accept what's going on with this team this year. It's not Wisconsin basketball. There's no gut and grit in this team.
Right.
They just aren't. They're not playing. They're just soft and they're underperforming. And that's not Wisconsin basketball.
Right. No, I agree.
But I think, too, that Bo needs to get into the Hall of Fame. Whether you like Bo personally or not, his accomplishments on the basketball court.
Do you think it hurts him because it was Wisconsin? A lot of his D3 and people look at it poorly on that. Like it's just Wisconsin.
It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. The Division III national championships. They beat every other school in the country. No, he deserves to be in.
Oh, I agree. I do think that's the outside perception.
Might be, might be
over there.
Might be,
but nope. I agree with you, man. All right. We had somebody say about because we were looking at like talk about the 80 Olympics and that somebody mentioned Michael Phelps gold medals and all that, but we knew Michael Phelps was going to be dominant. I think we're looking for like the surprise, the upsets, big times from 1980 and on.
What he accomplished was wonderful. I mean, I didn't expect Eric Heiden to win 5 gold medals. I didn't expect Rulon Garden to beat the Bear. I didn't expect the hockey team to beat Russia, but they did.
Yep. So if you got any other ones, keep them coming though. 2 in. We got 1 more hour to go. Let's talk some Bucks hoops coming up after these news updates. Final hour kicking off right now. Coming up, we're going to talk with Jake Bolks, our conservation warden buddy. 8:30 for our outdoor tidbits. Last call for any questions. You got to text those on over to the Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. If you have any questions for Jake, we'll get those on over to him so he can help answer them for you. Also, we're going to get back to some more baseball talk, perhaps towards the a little bit later on this hour. Packers, we're going to hear from the new defensive coordinator later this afternoon, Jeff Hafley. Going to be talking with the media and chatting with the media a little bit. So we had a little fun with this. If you could ask him one question, what would it be? You can send those on over if you haven't done so yet. Let's talk some hoops before we get to Jake here. Bucks will be back in action tomorrow as they take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. NBA tips off tonight though with some games. Giannis talked to the Athletic, to Eric Name, who covers the Bucks for the Athletic heading into the All-Star break, and just talk a little bit about how things have been going and coaching changes and this, that, and the other thing. And some of the comments from Giannis here said that things weren't the way they were supposed to be. How can I say it? The last couple of years, I'm used to a specific structure of things, a specific culture. There's a certain way that you have to do things in order for you to win games. And if that level is not being met as a leader, you have to push that envelope, push everybody, your coaching staff, your teammates. Doc brought some peace of mind. He's tough. He's Doc Blank and Rivers. He knows his blank. Same thing for Coach Bud. Same with Joe Prunty, Jay Kidd, and Coach Griff was a great coach, a great person to work with. But at the end of the day, it was his first time. He was figuring things out, how to lead a group of guys, how to operate with star players. And sometimes that might be hard. I think everybody did a good job. His coaching staff did a good job too, helping him and making him adjust. And I think he did a tremendous job leading us to a 30-13 record. But Coach Doc has won 1,100 games, so it's totally different. Now it's almost like I don't have. Oh, and then he was asked about with a veteran coach at the helm. Giannis feels like stuff has been taken off his plate a little bit. Quote, now it's almost like I don't have to do that anymore. Instead of the extra emphasis he had to put on leadership to start the season, I just have to keep the guys together and try to go out there and try to win. Coach Doc, he's a great guy. Been in the league for a lot of years, won a lot of games. Like, you go to bed, you sleep well at night, win or lose, you know that the coaching staff is going to be prepared. And not just him, from Rex, from Dave. Like, come on, man, Joe Prunty. We have guys that are extremely smart and know the game of basketball. So from that aspect, you don't have to worry anymore. So just some comments from Giannis about his new coach.
Receiver to Furry, been more disappointed with the Bucks or the Badgers so far this year?
At the beginning, if we do we do beginning preseason expectations?
Everything, yeah.
I didn't expect the Badgers to get as high at 6. So when they got to 6 and now where they're at, it's really just. But overall, I think it's probably a little bit of the Bucks. I mean, I thought the Bucks would finish like second in the East. I think what's most disappointing with the Bucks is that they brought in a coach, Coach Griffin, who was supposed to be touted for his defense, and that's been like the biggest issue.
Yeah,
has been defense at this point. So I think if we did preseason expectations, you go with the Bucks, but yeah, probably still Bucks a little bit there.
Probably. The thing is, you still got hope that the Bucks can turn it around and put it together and, make a run in the playoffs and hopefully a productive run in the playoffs. I've lost all that hope for the Badgers. I really have. I just don't see how this team can bring it back together and have a meaningful, successful end of this season. I just never have seen a team underperform so much. So that for me, it's the Badgers, because I expect the Bucks are still going to get it together.
Yeah, I think I thought that some of the comments from Giannis were a little interesting, and I don't know if anybody's kind of like run with this one, but the one that kind of popped out to me was when he talked about it. he kind of gives the impression he sleeps better at night now, knowing that Doc Rivers is the head coach, and taking a little bit off of his shoulders, that pressure. And I'm sure some will spin it, taking the pressure off of him having to be a leader and all that. But again, I go back to the beginning. How much say did Giannis have in hiring coach? We were told that he had a lot of say in it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he did. Well, remember they brought in Budenholzer. He and Chris Middleton had meetings with him ahead of time to be comfortable with him. Thing that bothered me in his comments is the fact that win or lose, when we go to bed at night, we know the coaches are prepared. Well, if the coaches are prepared, then what's the matter with the team? Why isn't the team playing better defense? That comment kind of, it kind of got my attention when you mentioned that's the way he looked at it, that we go to bed at night knowing that our coaches are prepared. Well, what does it say about the team then?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find the one comment so I can give a little bit more context to it too about Damian Lillard. I get what he's saying on it too, but he's like, this is his team. This is Damian's team. I'm like, you're being a good teammate. It ain't Damian's team. It's still your team, Giannis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was kind of talking about wanting him to have the ball, at the end of the game. I get that.
Oh, absolutely. I'd
that.
want him to have the ball too, because Giannis isn't a dependable guy to make a jump shot to win a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So I get what he's saying. Like this is no, it's still your team, Giannis, but I understand what you're trying to drive at that point. So, but it's go time now though, with the second half getting ready to tip off.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping when they go to bed at night now, they know why they lost. Not I'm confident that the coaches are prepared. Well, that doesn't say much about the team. If the coaches are prepared and giving you what it takes to win, and you guys don't use it to win, let's say more about the team than it does the coaches.
Yeah, this is when it's all got to come together now, and no more. They're still learning, and you don't have time now for that. You're 65% of the way through the season. You've got a month and a half. Yeah, I mean the final weeks here, the month of March and beginning of April. You don't want to fall too far behind in the standings in the East. You're not going to get the 1 seed.
That's why they brought in Doc Rivers and not another rookie coach. Doc Rivers has been through the wars of the playoff and the grind of getting there, and he knows how to do it. And that's what I say. Is this on the coaches or is it going to be on the team?
And to feed off that too, there was another comment he mentioned, or somebody had mentioned too, about when it gets to that postseason. That postseason experience kind of comes into play where, if you get into a tight situation or difficult, got to make a decision, to rely on that experience to be in the postseason. Now, I know, all jokes aside, there's going to be some people who will look at Doc's success in the postseason, Game 7 loss and all. And yeah, he's probably should have won more championships with some of the teams he coached over there. But at least I get where that point too is being made, when you're in that decision or in that situation in a postseason game. Doc's been there before, and this is a win now team.
And very few coaches have at that level that have been that superior, that have gotten to the championship, have won every game, have won every time. They just don't do it. Belichick didn't do it. Now I'm just thinking about Bill Walsh with the 49ers. Did he win every time he went to the Super Bowl? Because Andy Reid hasn't won every time he's been to the Super Bowl. Don Shula, they didn't. Vince Lombardi, he didn't. He got beat by Philadelphia.
Never lost again after that, though, when he claimed that. So.
But I mean, but still, in all, it's you get to the top is a wonderful thing. But are you successful every time? And Bill Walsh is the only name that, for multiple play, you get there once and win, okay. But Bill Walsh, I don't know if every time he took the 49ers to the Super Bowl, he won.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, too, it might be a small sample size, but, big reason why Doc was brought in was to help improve this defense, one of the top priorities. And according to this, it says that despite facing one of the league's toughest schedules over the 2 weeks before the All-Star break, during Rivers' tenure, the Bucs have been the league's 10th best defense under Adrian Griffin. They were 21st in defensive ratings. So while they've found a higher level on defense, you can look at the offense is actually now taking it because they were one of the top 2 scoring teams in the league. Their offense has come down a little bit. That's where they got to find that happy medium now. Great, you're better at defense, but now what's wrong with the offensive side of things? Because you've got too much talent to be a poor offensive team.
Oh, there's no question about that.
I mean, when you have Giannis and Dame and even Brooke, and when Chris is out there or whatever, you got too much firepower out there to not be a better offensive team. So that's where they've got to find that happy medium between the two.
No question. And I think the limiting factor there right now is Middleton. Because how good or how tough are his knees right now? Can he play at a championship level? And it's got to be more than 10 or 12 minutes a game. You've got to get 25 minutes out of him and at a high championship level. Same thing with Brook Lopez. I mean, he's playing more now, but still, what is his physical condition going through the playoffs? Can he play multiple minutes? Because I think Damian Lillard and Giannis goes without saying. But some of these other guys have to step up. Connaughton has to be more consistent. Bobby Portis has to be more consistent. These guys have to give them more that they can count on all the time. And that's where your championship comes in. Your stars are going to be there. Jason Tatum, Brown for the Celtics, they're going to be there. What about Porzingis and some of the other guys? Are they going to be there? On a consistent, that's how you win the championship.
Yep. Yeah, Giannis said, I'm talking about Dame. I'm his biggest fan. Good or bad, I ride with Dame until the blank and end. Dude likes to swear a lot. I ride with Dame. Like I've been saying this over and over again. This period is his team. Down the stretch, he's going to get the ball. There's nothing else that we will do. I don't know how else to put it. I don't know what else to say. But at the end of the day, he has to believe it too. I get again what he's saying. Still Giannis's team, but I'd rather have Dame have the ball at the end though too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That closer, right?
Yep.
That closer. And that's not to say Giannis can't close, but we all know what we're referring to. I'd rather have Dame shooting a jump shot than Giannis.
Oh, there's no question about. I mean, if there's a 6'9" guy guarding Giannis, then we're down 1. Yep. Then you throw it to him and let him work in the lane.
Yep.
But if you're down 2 or 3, you want Damian to have the ball outside the 3-point line.
And I think that was something that was missing from this Bucks team the last couple of years.
Yeah,
no question. Who was that guy that could close out a shot?
Used to be Middleton.
Yeah. Who was that guy that can close it out with fadeaway, 3, jump, or something? Create their own shot. Yep. Dame can create his own shot.
Yeah,
it might be 40 feet away.
I was going to say, we saw that in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
I mean, that one shot, he came one step across half court and threw it up like it was a 5-foot jump shot. Bang.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are unbelievable shooters now.
Not to rehash it and everything, but I know it's a lot of people are upset about that All-Star game. And yeah, it was crappy, but my counter question to everybody has been, what do you expect?
You don't want to get anybody hurt. These guys, it's a chance for them to show off their talent. I mean, Damian Lillard's not going to come into a Bucks game and shoot like that.
Right.
But he just let everybody know that if I have to, I can.
Yeah.
Same thing with Halliburton. He came in 5 shots in a row he made from behind the 3-point line.
He had 15 points in the first couple minutes.
Yeah. First 5 shots, bang.
Yeah.
Made them all. They were all 3-pointers. So these guys have some tremendous talent. And that's what the All-Star game was all about. These are all-stars. They're better than anybody else in the league. That's why they're there. I don't have a problem with the score being 200 to 190.
Yeah,
they're not all-stars because they can play defense.
Yeah, and everybody's like, well, look at these 90s All-Star games. And I'm like, game doesn't matter, though. I don't want it.
But back then, you didn't have players as mobile as they are now. I'm talking about playing for various teams.
Bingo. Yes.
And now, this was Chicago playing the New York Knicks and, this, that, and the other thing. So you had some natural rivalries. So you wanted to get in the All-Star game. You wanted to win the All-Star game because of that. I mean, look at Kevin Durant. How many teams has he played for?
Bingo.
And all these guys, now they're mobile. They're all friends. He's probably been teammates with the All-Stars on both teams. He's probably been teammates with 3/4 of them at least. And so it's a different world. These
We had
guys are
Jordan on
all-stars.
Bird on the same team that
Yeah,
one time of the
yeah.
year. You're exact, because I brought up too, like, we got super teams now, whereas back then there were no super teams. We see them already playing together. It's not a draw like it was with the All-Star game.
No, exactly. I mean, the
Bingo.
closest you had to all-star teams back then was when Kareem and Magic and Keith Wilkes and some of those guys played against McHale and Bird and
The Chief Robert
Yep,
Parrish.
yep, and Danny Ainge and those guys. But still, in all, they didn't play with each other on the same team. LeBron now, if he'd have been in one, he'd have went to the Celtics or he'd have went to the Lakers to try and play on that team to win a championship. He didn't rely on, like the Bulls did for winning all their championships. Houston, Olajuwon and the guys that played in Houston, they played on those teams for their careers. Now doesn't happen. And so these guys know each other so well for so many different reasons. They were probably teammates before, so the All-Star game is different. It's a different formula. It's just a different mindset. And I have no problem with it. I mean, to watch these guys shoot, if you ever, and the thing is, if you ever played the game, it's like the home run derby. If you ever played the game, you know how hard it is to do what these guys are doing. You can't, like Halliburton, 5 for 5, some of the shots he take, Caitlin Clark. I mean, these are exceptional people. Appreciate them for what they are and what their talents are.
And like, I know some people have been saying, well, the baseball All-Star game is at least a good, well, for that one, it's almost like, as you're a pitcher, you're not just going to loft ball. I mean, it's almost a work, like, they're kind of getting some throws in.
Well, you're only one inning.
Exactly. And they're not just going to sit there and throw a 50-mile-an-hour ball up there. First of all, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff.
They're competitive.
Yeah.
These pitchers in the All-Star game, they're not going to give you anything.
No.
Maybe if it's a guy that he's there as Swan, like Willie Mays, he was there because he's Willie Mays. They might throw him some puff balls and see if he can hit a home run.
Or Cal hitting a home run in his last one.
Yeah, exactly. So, but for the most part, these pitchers in the All-Star game, they're there to knock these guys, send them back with their bat in their hand to the dugout.
But like you said, they only pitch an inning or two.
That's right.
So it's different. They're not pitching the whole game.
Apples and oranges. It's two different things.
Still like the baseball All-Star game. It's my favorite.
Oh, mine too. Mine too. I mean, it was fun to watch the NBA the other night because I just thought, what is their limit? I mean, half court is, they give college students thousands of dollars for a court shot. Well, you put these NBA players out there, Luka Doncic and some of these guys, and it's almost like a layup.
Yeah.
They're
well, and the thing
talented.
is too, Hudson loved it, and that's what I think the All-Star games are now. Pro Bowl, and that's for the younger fans out there to enjoy
and keep these kids' attention. That's how you keep your fan base up. From generation to generation.
Because honestly, that was like one of his first. He's watched him before, but never really clicked. But when Tyrese was hitting all those, he's like, "Oh, is that Tyrese Halliburton?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, he's from actually Oshkosh." Just kind of introducing him that way.
Yeah.
And now he's like, "Well, I want to start collecting Tyrese Halliburton cards."
Sure.
That's how the adults then have to fork over more money.
Well,
for the kiddos.
and again, receiver defer. Baseball is more popular because of the changes they made as far as the extra innings, as far as the pitch count and the clock, the pitch clock. I think it's tremendously good decisions.
Yeah, I agree, man. So, all right. So we got Jake coming up here in just a few minutes. So, again, last call. This is your last call. If you have any questions for Jake or Outdoor Tidbits, hit us up with a quick text at 715-830-1912. We'll get back to some more baseball talk as well with Brandon Woodruff coming in. We got a couple texts here about Brewers here quick before we head to break here. But good to see Brandon Wood. This is from Adam. Good to see Brandon Woodruff back in a Brewers uniform. Hopefully he comes back and can still continue to be a starting pitcher. This is from Ben. I get the Brandon Woodruff signing to keep him in for, is that supposed to be for rehab? I'm assuming it's supposed to say to keep him in for rehab purposes, but do we know if he actually for sure is going to be back and pitching at the major league level? Don't know yet.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think anybody can say that at this point.
And that's why I think $2.5 million right now is, for you and me, that's a lot, but for, that's kind of the minimum for somebody at his level. And that, I don't know what exactly the minimum
But see,
veterans in that. So,
but he has to appreciate $2.5 million to live in Milwaukee. He's living pretty nice.
And he's getting the rehab services on the team
Yep.
and that too. So, like we kind of mentioned in the first hour, he's going to be able to do that, and team's going to be able, doesn't have to go out on his own and try to, find somebody to train him and all that too.
That's a good point.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll have some outdoor tidbits with Mr. Boakes coming up in just a few minutes. Have a little extra money left from your tax return and you want to do something fun with it, like spending it on yourself. But what should you get? Well, if you're a hunter, how about a new deer rifle or shotgun for turkey and bird hunting? Hey, now that I've piqued your interest, it's time to go visit Tilden Gun. Family owned and operated, Sean and Hunter from Tilden Gun are ready to help you find that new deer rifle or shotgun for your next hunting adventure. And they have the biggest selection in the area, all at the best prices. And they'll even help you find just what you're looking for. So you can either visit tildengun.com to check out their selection online or stop by at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls to see what they have in their store, including their used selection and their wall of handguns, plus all the accessories you need. So once you get that tax return this year, save some of it and spoil yourself this year. Upgrade to a new deer rifle or shotgun for turkey hunting this year. You deserve it. And let Tilden Gun help you find that firearm you're looking for.
Progressive presents advice on new teen drivers.
The hardest part about teaching your teen to drive is the chafing from the seatbelt. But the best part is the grip strength you build in your knuckles. Okay, now let's pull out of the driveway.
Here's another tip. Offset a chunk of the cost of adding a teen to your insurance with Progressive's Teen Driver Discount and get a break from the brake. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states or situations.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
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 Babbel. Évidemment. Babbel. Language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Start learning a language today at Babbel.com.
Hey friends, running a small business is hard. Running a small local business is even harder. Trying to market that small local business is even harder still. With all of the new marketing techniques out there, it's hard to keep track and it's hard to be an expert. SEO, SEM, OTT, online, digital ads. What's the difference between social and not social? What's a targeted display? You've heard all these terms. Some of them are confusing. Guess what? You don't need to be an expert in all those because we can help you. Midwest Family Eau Claire is not just radio stations anymore. Radio, online, everywhere. For measurable long-term business growth, we're your marketing and branding solution. Whether it's radio, content marketing, digital marketing, graphic design, brand development, live events, or you just need some advice, we can do any of those things for you. With our qualified team of experienced leaders, we can help you sift through the new deep ocean that is trying to make your business successful. Reach out and let's get started today. MidwestFamilyEauClaire.com. That's MidwestFamilyEauClaire.com.
ServiceMaster of Chippewa Valley is your local expert when it comes to fire and water damage, carpet and air duct cleaning, mold remediation, and trauma. They're when you need them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Trust comes in the yellow truck. Learn more at ServiceMasterChippewaValley.com.
Are you thinking of taking a spring break trip this year? Or maybe you're already eyeing up that summer vacation, but you're not quite sure if you have the proper transportation for those road trips. Hey, that's where Toyson Ford can help you. Toyson Ford has a wide selection of new and used vehicles for you to check out. And at Toyson Ford, they treat you like an honored guest. They will work with you on financing no matter what your budget may be. So if you're looking for that new vehicle this year, head to Toyson Ford, located at 1000 Chippewa Crossing Boulevard in Chippewa Falls.
Win a pair of tickets to see the Minnesota Wild at the Xcel Energy Center in St. Paul. Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM have tickets to the game against the San Jose Sharks on Sunday, March 3rd at 6 p.m., which is also Star Wars Night at the X. All you got to do is go to Fan Cave at sportstalk1051.com and scroll down to the prize dugout to get entered. Good luck. From Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM.
Want the latest insight and analysis on your favorite green and gold football team? Check out the Green and Gold Chalk Talk video series hosted by Dan Kasper with new episodes each week on YouTube. Answering your questions and giving you the tips you need to be successful and safe in the outdoors. It's time for your Outdoor Tidbits. Have a question you'd like answered by Jake? Send it to us, and we'll ask for you.
It is time for our Outdoor Tidbits with our good buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden for the great state of Wisconsin. Good morning, Jake. How you doing, bud?
Morning. I'm doing good. How about you?
Can't complain, man. Can't complain. Still the warmer weather here, and I know I saw some stuff on social media and Facebook and that about take the ice shanties off. That due date. If you haven't done it already, you might. I've been seeing a lot more shanties in the water. It looks like, and even vehicles in the water at this point.
Yeah, the date to remove them is Sunday, March 3rd around here. If you're north of 64. You have an extra week, but to be honest, if you got a shack out there right now, you're probably risking it all anyways with all the shorelines pulling away and the cracks forming and this and that. So I haven't really seen much in the area, so I don't have any concerns. But if you do have one on some small lake somewhere, or you're going to put one up this week for whatever reason, they all have to be off by March 3rd.
All right. So, Jake, what about because you mentioned too with fish regulations, maybe a few changes coming up in this year?
Yeah. So when the new regulations come out, usually they come out first online, whenever that is, April, May, June. Well, hopefully before June, but they should come out relatively soon online. It takes a little bit longer to get everything done and then printed off and shipped off and then shipped to the service centers and all that kind of stuff. But when the new season comes, I just really encourage everyone to go online and check the regs for hunting, but especially fishing. Nothing's official yet, but I'm pretty sure that the walleye limit for the Chippewa River will change. We talked about that a little bit, but there might be some panfish changes throughout the area a little bit. Maybe a couple bag limits going up, a couple bag limits going down on different lakes here and there. I was just talking with the fishery biologist, and he was giving me some information on data, some scientific smart stuff that I don't know, but some smart scientific data that they've been going over like the last 10 years, and they might make some changes. So nothing's official yet, but just a reminder to really check those rigs and make sure somewhere where you're fishing you can keep 25 or there's not a size limit or on some fish or a smaller bag limit or something like that.
Jake, one thing that always intrigues me is watching the news reports on the sturgeon spearing over in Lake Winnebago.
Yeah.
And I know there are sturgeon in the Chippewa River. Why is it only in Lake Winnebago and like through the ice we don't have one of those seasons in the Chippewa River?
That's a fair question. I don't know the official answer to it. I would think back in the day it probably had to do with just the amount of fish and having it be like a I guess a population that will handle thousands of harvesters and stuff like that. I don't know the whole history with like the fish, but I don't know how many were over here when they instituted that, because we have been doing stocking across the state, so maybe there weren't as many when this started back over there.
But I would think if they limited tag like they do for the turkey hunts and limit bear hunts and elk hunts, limited tags on the Chippewa River, you could control it. But they've never done that. I don't know why, but that crossed my mind right now as you're talking about fishing and bag limits. Why we don't have ice fishing limited as it might be on the Chippewa River.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think culturally too, sturgeon have always been one of those fish, kind of like white deer, albino deer, where people didn't want them hunted or harvested or fished or speared. But I think, it started on the Winnebago, and they have the science and the data and the thick ice and registration stations to make it, it's a very, very controlled sport over there. You can't start till 7. You have to be off, you got to be in line for that registration station within half an hour of the day being done, and that's at like 2:30 or 3. That's a short window for hunting, and so we can manage them as DNR, as a biologist and as a warden. But I have heard, with all the stocking efforts and all the sportsmen that have helped support sturgeon across the state, there is like a catch and release. We do have like a catch and release season in September here on the Chippewa River, and you can keep 1 over 60. But there might be in the future the potential that we have like a year-round or a summer-style open catch and release season on sturgeon, because they're looking at trying to spread the sport around the state and give more opportunity for it.
Yeah, well, I just think it would be fun and attract a lot of interest on the ice in the Chippewa River to spear those things, cut those holes, and most years there's good ice on the Chippewa River. Not this year.
I was going to say, how much does a safety factor come in with river?
I'm sure the safety factor is pretty big.
Yeah.
You're right. We do get ice on the river, but I don't see a lot of ice fishermen on the river, to be honest. Obviously, there's spots around Lake Minnesota and this and that, but there's not as many spots during the ice as there is in the open water.
Saw a dude on the news the other day. We had this boat in the river with his dog fishing already over there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen plenty of boats out on the river, under the bridges, or down by Phoenix Parks. And that is the nice thing about the Chippewa. I think a lot of people around here know, but I don't think people know from a statewide perspective. Is the Chippewa and even the Black River down in Jackson County, those are kind of like inland rivers that are open year-round to fishing, minus Muskie. Muskie still closes, but you could go fishing for walleye any time in the winter or spring on the Chippewa, or just about any other fish, which is unique, because everything north of the Chippewa, like Lake Eau Claire, the Eau Claire River, Lake Altoona, all those game fish seasons close coming up here next month.
Mm-hmm. Jake, just I know we had a couple people, and we already kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but obviously one of the bigger stories out there is the northern hunting zone. That's nothing you can comment on right now, but I think it's maybe a good reminder too, if people want to maybe have an input. Like we had a texter asking about why more is not being done to regulate deer farms and game preserves and all that. That's mostly where they should reach out to legislatures or something, because you're just enforcing the laws and rules.
Yeah, especially at like the field level. We are in charge of, like you said, the enforcement and bring in our observations to our supervisors and leadership and stuff like that. If you have input or questions or thoughts on it, you're right. Like the best thing is to either go to like your local legislator, or we do have different contacts within the department. Like we have like a an administrative warden who, like, his job is to be like our contact or oversight the deer farm inspections and be our like liaison to that. And the other hard part with like deer farms and stuff is it's kind of a multi-department jurisdiction. So we do part of it, but DATCAP actually enforces a lot of it or holds a lot of regulations on there. So we kind of have to work hand in hand. And when you have two agencies working together, sometimes decisions aren't made as quickly or whatnot because there's just a lot of input.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, we got spring turkey hunting coming up with the extra tags. Just throwing that reminder out for everybody. I got the alarm set on my phone to get the bonus tag over there.
Yeah, definitely check where you're hunting, check the zone, and check that morning of the week so you're online. I don't see as many people in the customer service buildings. We used to have like a warden. People would be lined out the door.
Yeah.
So we used to have like a warden go into the Eau Claire Service Center and stand there and just talk with people, but just make sure it didn't get unruly. But we don't see that anymore. We see a couple people there, but most people are online and you're waiting to get in that queue right away. So just make sure if you are doing it online, you got your computer up and you're ready to go.
Absolutely. All right, Jake, the spring meetings, did they happen yet, or are they going? They're coming up, aren't they?
April 8th, yeah.
Okay.
We're still working through, I think everything's still going through like the planning stages. We have some like internal staff that are booking rooms and doing this and doing that. But at the end of the day, like every county will have them April 8th. I think they start around like 6:30. And in Eau Claire, we've always had it at CVTC off of Claremont. We haven't, I don't know if they've gone and booked that yet. Probably something I'll reach out to them and make sure they get, because it's a nice building there and a big room and such. So hopefully we have them there.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the ice shacks, I just want to hit this quick because some people always ask. So you have to have the shacks off on Sunday the 3rd, but it doesn't mean you can't take one out. Say we get like a cold snap and the ice gets good or something. The law is just that you can't keep them overnight anymore after the 3rd. So you can still bring out a portable ice shack and fish all day and whatnot. You just have to take it off at the end of the day or
Gotcha.
take it with you. I always get that question. I just wanted to hit it quick. You can still use them on the ice. You just have to bring them in.
Gotcha. Good note there, Jake. We appreciate the time as always, buddy. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll catch up with you again next week. Okay, sir?
Yeah, sounds great. Enjoy the continued warm weather.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt, man. All right, you be safe, and we'll catch up with you soon. Okay.
Yep. See you guys.
See ya. There
Thanks,
you go.
Jake.
There you go. Jake Bolks, conservation warden for the state of Wisconsin for your outdoor tidbits. Charlie Woods is on the course right now trying to qualify for a PGA Tour event. I'm trying to find
He's
a score.
only about 14 years old.
15 years old
15?
right now. Yeah. Trying to do it.
Where is in Florida? I
Florida.
assume, yeah.
Yep. I'm trying to find they're not updating the leaderboard over there. So that'd be something.
Yeah,
He's got a good crowd following him. No
I'm sure he does.
wonder.
Does his
right
dad
now.
follow him?
I didn't see it out there. And probably good. Maybe
Yeah.
not to put a little added extra pressure or something like that. But
15 years old. Wow.
they've already got odds. I saw this. Let me see if I can bring it back up here. Yeah, Charlie Woods, odds to win a major by 2040. They already got this out. 10-1. He would be 31 years old at that point. So
He looks pretty good, but
he looks good.
I don't know if he's got the internal fire that his dad had.
I don't know. He's kind of got the same, just listening to him talk and that kind of, what do you want to call it? Personality or?
I hope not.
Yeah.
In
Not
some
that way,
ways,
but
in
like,
some
yeah.
ways.
But like on the golf course and such, it sure seems like it. But got a lot of
Yeah,
the same.
Tiger's one of a kind as far as determination and drive.
He's got the same mannerisms of him on the course because I was just watching his first tee shot. Twirled the driver afterwards. So it must have been pretty good. So, all right, we'll take a break. We got some picks to make. Picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. So we'll get to that as we finish up this Thursday morning after these few words. Wrap it up with some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Reminder, if you're looking for somewhere to maybe watch some of the races now that we are in race season, they do weekly pick'ems over there too. So usually on Sundays and such. Sometimes we get a little Saturday night racing action, or Mondays in this case when they had to make it up. But you're looking to make some picks or watch the races or any ball game, in fact, head on over to the Elbow Room right in Eau Claire, located next to the Banbury Place. And speaking of which, we've got our updated list of picks and predicts up on our website for this week's games. Just go to sportstalk1051.com, click on the Fan Cave tab over there. The NBA tips off their quote unquote second half tonight. We know Bucks will be in action tomorrow night as they take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. But let's pick a couple games here. Let's go Lakers, Golden State. Doesn't sound like LeBron's playing, dealing with an ankle issue. Played in the All-Star game and was dunking, but not playing in this one, it sounds like. So
I'll take Golden State.
Take Golden State there too. So we got Phoenix taking on the Mavericks of Dallas.
Wow. That
should be a good one.
150 to 145.
Right.
We'll take Phoenix.
I think I'm going to go Phoenix too. I'm going to go with Phoenix. How about Orlando and Cleveland?
Cleveland.
Well, Cleveland's hot right now.
Yeah, they are. They won, what, 18 out of 20 or some ungodly number?
How about the Clippers at OKC? That's going to be a good one.
I'll take the Clippers.
They're playing good too.
Yeah. Is playing so well.
I'm going to take OKC. It's at OKC, and they're really good at home this year.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Holmgren, I think he's really been a good player. I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to be a good pro, but he can do so many things, and he's tougher than a lot of people think.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Got a full slate of some college basketball games tonight. But hey, Illinois lost to Penn State yesterday.
I saw that.
So,
and Illinois had a 11 or 12 point lead with about 3 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm. So that does help out Wisconsin a little bit there. But the game, Washington State versus Arizona, it's 21 versus 4, but I think we're all going to pick Arizona on that one.
Yep.
How about this one, though? Let's go with the Tommies, St. Thomas, 17-10 this year in Division I. 7-5 in conference play.
I haven't seen their schedule. What conference are they in?
With
the Green Bay and with those?
No, because they got North Dakota State. They're playing here the Summit. They are in the Summit. They're third in the Summit. So North Dakota is in first. 9 and they're only 1.5 back. I don't know. Maybe could they get a nice St. Tommy's in the tournament?
Would be interesting.
They're actually one of their players. There was a college basketball site that was talking about St. Thomas. I'll have to find that out, but they said one of the better stories in college basketball this year. But hey, 17-10. Let's go with St. Thomas beating North Dakota State tonight.
Yeah, I don't know how good North Dakota State basketball is.
13-14. So
yeah, we all know about their football program, but yeah, I'm going to go with the Tommies too.
Looking at some of these numbers for the Tommies here. Yeah, this kid Parker. That's who it was. There's an article about Parker. Parker Borland. I'll have to look that up, but they're putting up some decent amount of points. I'm trying to get some of their statistics coming up here. Yeah, they average about 74 points per game. Okay. All right. Yeah, just 4 more games left for this squad. Was this their second year in D1, third year in D1?
I know it's relatively new. I don't remember exactly the timetable, but I know it's been relatively recent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they did play Green Bay earlier this year and they lost. Oh, yeah, that's right. They played Marquette. Then they lost to Marquette by 5. It was 84-79.
That's
a little bit earlier in the season. So, okay. Those are just not a lot again for picks and predicts, especially. I mean, there's a ton of college basketball games, but I mean, you got Purdue in action against Rutgers, but I think Purdue's got that one in hand.
I think so too. I don't think Purdue's going to go very far in the tournament, though. I don't think they've got good enough guard play.
Yeah.
They just don't have the guards that they need to advance.
Mm-hmm. If you had to pick UConn or the field, who would you pick right now at this point in time?
I'd take the field. I think there's some good teams in the Big 12. I think there's good teams in the Southeast Conference, some in the ACC, but I think UConn will be in the fight. But I think there's just a lot of good teams out, and who knows with those Cinderellas that show up.
Yeah,
it happens every year.
And you feel like this is the year that there's going to be a few more, and watch it all go chalk.
Yeah, probably.
It'll probably go all chalk. I know Duke just dominated Miami last night because Hudson was watching that one.
Yeah, I watched part of that too, and that was over early.
Mm-hmm.
Miami they're like the Badgers. They've got some talent, but they're underperforming at a tremendous rate.
You want to talk about some poor three-point shooting? The little bit I was watching that with Hudson last night, it was like, holy moly. Miami was just felt like they were clanking. Yeah, they shot 24% from three.
Yeah,
6 of 25.
That's really an underperforming team.
Yeah. And figure out your new wardrobe. Did you see what they were wearing? They were wearing a Bill Belichick cutoff hoodies. It's a new bag. Jim Larinaga does not look good in a baggy cutoff hoodie. I'm just saying that man. No, don't force that on that man.
I know I miss the days, and COVID changed the world. But I miss the days when and I give Guard a lot of props for he's a coat and tie guy on the sidelines. But there you can count them almost on one hand who are the coat and tie guys. It's a respect for the game. I know we're in a casual world, and tie. I remember back when John Kennedy was president, that destroyed the hat industry because before that everybody wore a hat. John Kennedy didn't. The hat industry went in a tank, and now it's the tie. Who wears a tie? Donald Trump wears a tie. President Biden wears a tie, and not everybody in the Congress wears ties anymore. So the world is changing. I realize that, but I still respect Greg Gard for wearing that coat and tie on the sidelines.
You know who you would really like then is you should go back and listen to our Rolling with the Golds podcast where we talked with Chip Schneider, the track and field coach.
Yep.
At track and field events, suit and tie.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Now track and field coach, I can see wearing a sweatsuit or something like that because moving around the track.
Because we asked him about that because that was actually a question from Jason, the AD. Why do you, wear? Because it surprised him when he walked in. This is his first year into a track field. There's Chip, suit and tie.
Good for him.
Track and field.
Respecting the sport.
Said, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but had man there. That way, easier to see. And just, he's the guy in charge.
Because you look at some of these guys, remember Joe Paterno always wore a tie. He never had it cinched up, but he always wore the white shirt and the tie. And then you look at some of these modern day coaches. You look at Brett Bielema. He looked like he just got done cleaning the tavern. I mean, some of these guys aren't exactly radiating class when they're on the sidelines. But it's a changing world, and it is what it is, and it's some coaches feel comfortable in coat and tie, others don't, and so but I do agree with you. Some of the fashions they're coming out with now are less than classy.
Remember, it wasn't that long ago. Was it Jack Del Rio and Mike Nolan on the NFL sidelines tried to bring that back wearing a tie and such on the sideline. So I always liked it. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I was weird, but game days, I always liked wearing ties at school for a game day.
Yeah,
we'd always, wear our, collared shirt and tie.
You stood out. I mean, you were, why have you got it? Because you're on the basketball team or you're on whatever team it is, and it didn't make a difference.
Yeah, it was just a thing. Like you didn't really think about it. And I always I liked that.
You felt different. You felt, above the fray, so to speak. Maybe that term isn't correct, but you did. You always felt a little special.
I don't even know if they still do that in high school, to be honest with you.
I don't know if anybody does or not.
I don't know, but
I doubt it. I'd be very surprised.
I remember wearing my Bugs Bunny basketball tie a lot and my Vince Lombardi one.
Yep.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. Had fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Back in our day, we had ties that were about as wide as a ballpoint pen. little ties. But, it's the world is changing. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or anything else. It's just different. And Greg Gard has a lot more class on the sidelines than guys like Brett Bielema or Jim Larinaga, things like that. I mean, Belichick on the sidelines, he looks like a bum. But you can't argue his success.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. So, what else do we got on the docket? Reminder too, wrestling, individual wrestling starting today. So best of luck to all the local wrestlers. We got a lot of them. Don't want to short anybody, so we'll
Mm-mm.
just say good luck to everybody that's participating down there. And we've got Brandon will be with us tomorrow to break down another busy weekend on tap with girls state basketball tournament or the playoffs, round 2, if you will, for some of the games tomorrow. And then, of course, individual wrestling. We got hockey, that big one with Chi High taking on Spash on Saturday, too, for a right to go to state, which should be a good one. I'm pretty sure Brandon will probably be at that one.
Oh, I would assume he would be.
So he'll break it all down for us for a little local sports roundup coming at you tomorrow. And best of luck, too, to the UW Stout women's basketball team WIAC championship tomorrow. This is their, where did I read? Since 2007. Let me bring it up here really quick for the
Stout women's basketball has been significant over the years.
Let me this would be if they win. Yes, it will. First WIAC championship appearance since 2007.
But around that 2007, before they fielded awfully good women's basketball teams.
Yep. So
very competitive.
So best of luck to our friends over there at Stout.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to hearing what our new defensive coordinator has to say. And hopefully they will provide good questions for him to answer to some specific things that he will look at changing and improving.
Yeah, just kind of that first impression, right?
Yep.
We're looking for a really good first impression too. So, all right, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, though, just past 6 a.m.
Got a tea time for today. 50 some degrees.
Maybe in my house.